Thanks, Toast. I'm setting up Dwarf 3 tonight. See if we can get some wide-angle images of the Milky Way. Okay, so far so good. Okay. This is the new fancy stuff that doesn't let me calibrate. Wonderful. Well, in that case, let's just go to... I don't want to take dark frames. Atlas. Hi, John. I'm fighting with Dwarf 3. This is the latest beta app. Let's see if it succeeds in calibrating. Oh, good. I don't know if Orion is gone beyond the meridian. We'll see. Yeah, it has gone beyond the meridian. All right, let's go find something else quickly. M44. This is beta software that I'm testing for Dwarf. First time use. They have eliminated all the manual, well, they have eliminated many manual functions that I used to find comfort in, and they have automated them. Now it wants to calibrate every time we go to a target, which I don't want to. Our ability to pull off a Messier marathon has been compromised now if we do not have the choice of skipping calibration. Okay, we have and let's see if it's going to do it automatically. Okay, that's the other thing now. It initializes every target. I ain't happy. They don't update the software often, but I am on their beta test team. And they send me firmware and software well before it is released to the public. So there are several of us who will beat it up, test it, try it, find the bugs, report them, tell them how much we hate it, and then they release it to everybody else after they do the fixes. There are lots of things that I have tested that never made it into the final product. Some good, some I wish they had included them. Like green stars. Okay. Well, I give them feedback all the time. We were communicating this morning, actually. They are implementing a new feature to automatically find the sun and automatically find the moon without having to manually move the scope to look at them. So we have been taking pictures of moon and sun in different conditions, in my case in snow and cloud. Yes, green is the new white. The good news though is when it's done with that, the final image, they correct the colors. Yep, there is a ton of green here that we don't want. There we go. That's more like it. Less green, more clouds. John, we fixed the blinking problem, yes. Yeah, they have been amazingly responsive. I remember one time we got 3 firmware updates in one day based on bugs that we were finding. And by far my favorite story is when my Dwarf 3 crashed. I would start it and it would stop halfway into the boot process. and the light will freeze and nothing would get it working. I drained the battery, did everything I could. I contacted them. It happened over the weekend. I waited for Monday, contacted them, and they said if I give them permission to access the device remotely, they'll see what they can do. I gave them permission. They accessed the device. And within 10 minutes, I was using it again. It was up and running. They fixed it remotely. I had feared that we were going to be shipping it back to them because it had turned into a paperweight. Toast, the clouds never left. It was just an illusion. Yes, they are here. And we have stopped stacking. But we verified that Betelgeuse is still there, and that's important. Hello, garlic waffle. Hi again, Tariq. You're welcome, All Sky. We have been frustrated with the weather, as you can tell. But the forecast for the next 3 days, day and night, is 70% cloud cover. I look at the positive side, namely 30% clear sky, and that's what we're trying to do. Imaging whatever we can find. Big difference between Dwarf and Seestar on the one hand and Stellina on the other hand. Stellina would terminate a capture if it goes several frames and without finding stars. If it cannot stack them, it will quit. Seestar and Dwarf have no problem taking frame after frame and tossing them out if they cannot line them up, which is fine with me. I've seen them sit for half an hour while tracking and not find any star and then resume stacking. So we're stacking now. Not much to the Beehive cluster, but I don't want to move off it yet. Garlic, Pompey Observatory is taken. Other than that, you can pick any name you want. It seems able to stack in between bursts of cloud. Yep, it just stacked one more frame. TCrB is scheduled to rise a few minutes earlier than yesterday, so it should be rising just after 10 o'clock. And by 11 we should be able to see it. If Dwarf does not end up in a bag of rice by then. Seestar was caught in another snow squall today. We were imaging the sun, and then suddenly the lake effect plume whipped down and covered the Seestar. The moon is not rising for a long while at this point, till tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, if you just joined us, this is the Pompey Observatory, and we are imaging M44, the Beehive cluster, through the clouds. It's a feat that only the Dwarf 3 can do tonight. John, no, these developers are in Hong Kong. Yes, Stellina is the French telescope. Dwarf is Chinese, made in China. M44 is known as the Beehive cluster. It's also known as the Praesipe or the manger. Not too bad. With this cloud cover, Dwarf 3 has stacked 45 frames out of 54. Not bad at all. Garlic TCrB should rise around the 10:22 here. It will be high enough by 11 p.m. If the clouds are still broken like this, I definitely plan to visit with TCrB just to make sure it's still there. John, you are correct on that. Yeah, I don't see any chance of imaging a nebula at this point. The latest reports suggest that the temperature of TCrB has risen by about 40,000 degrees. Right, John? And a lot more spectroscopic activity. I think these are French degrees, not American degrees, so that's a lot hotter than Fahrenheit. "55 stacked out of 67. Stellar." When it goes nova, they think it's going to remain very, very bright for about 2 days. Some people say 6 to 18 hours, others say a couple of days. We'll see. Yeah, the article about the spectroscopic activity was in German. But when we talk about temperatures, there is the French temperature, Celsius, and the American temperature Fahrenheit. Or if you prefer, there's Fahrenheit and then there's the rest of the world. When I visited Saskatoon a few years ago in January, the temperature was the same in Fahrenheit and Celsius. How high is M67 now? Let me see. It is very well placed, so we will hop to it as soon as there is a slight break in the clouds to give Dwarf a chance to find it. Yeah, it is not too far from from Messier 44. This should be a good time to go. Noise reduction takes about 3 minutes. That definitely takes away any chance of using Dwarf 3 for a Messier marathon. Those who have not heard my plan, March 28, I'd like to start in the evening at sunset with a Messier marathon and try to cover as many of the 110 objects as possible by sunrise, because the sun will rise missing a piece. There is a partial solar eclipse at sunrise on March 29. I have to find a way to either roll back the firmware or see if the new firmware will talk to an old version of the app to skip all that unnecessary overhead. The noise reduction that they claim they did, I don't see it reducing noise. Anyway, end current session. M67. I think we have enough stars for it to calibrate, keeping our fingers crossed. It is problematic when it tries to calibrate for every target when you have a wall on one side of the telescope. Right now I do not see any value in taking darks. So between the recalibration between targets and the initializing and then the AI denoising, we're spending a lot of time that could be spent imaging. Doesn't want to, okay, there we go. Okay, we have M67. I have a sinking feeling we may end up doing the Messier marathon with Dwarf 2 instead of Dwarf 3. That little 2-pounder remains a very, very potent telescope. They used to be optional in the previous iteration of the app, and some users complained that they have too many choices. With the Seestar, and I have to believe that the Dwarf Lab folks own one or two Seestars. Good evening, Bill. As soon as you arrived, the clouds parted and they're gone, and we have a plane flying over. I am testing new firmware on the Dwarf 3 with a new app, and so far my initial reaction is somewhere between hating it with a passion and just simply not liking it. So we find ourselves with every new app on Seestar, they try to incorporate all the features from Dwarf that we don't like. And every time Dwarf tries to upgrade their app, they incorporate features from Seestar that we don't like. So both telescopes now are growing to become fairly similar to each other in terms of functionality, having incorporated all the things that we hate about both. That's a good point, John. Bill, by the time you get your Dwarf 3, you will not be able to tell the difference between it and Seestar except for the shape. They just added a new feature, namely calibration and recalibration and reinitialization every time you go to a new target. Dwarf used to allow me to find a comet inside a tree, or to go to a target before it rises above the horizon and start tracking it until it goes above the horizon. Did that quite a few times. Not anymore. They want to plate solve and calibrate on every target. Let's see if the stars are still green or if they solve the problem. No, they are still green. Okay. No, this is better. Okay. This is much better. As you will witness shortly, Bill, when I tell it to go to a target, it insists on recalibration, and it tries to calibrate by staring at the wall, which doesn't seem to work well. And then it does the initialization, and then it asks me to take dark frames, to which I say, na 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 na. And then when it's done stacking, it says, permiso, I need 3 minutes to do the AI denoising and enhancing of the picture. I don't have 3 minutes between Messier targets. Both, Bill, both clouds and lake effect, poor Oswego, they have been shut down for 3 days now. They emailed me this afternoon saying, don't bother, come tomorrow. The university is still shut down and the observatory is buried under feet of snow. Oh boy. The same band of snow is still pounding Oswego. It has been dumping snow on them literally for 3 days non-stop now. I have seen that night mode. I prefer not to use it. As long as the background is dark, otherwise I'm happy. Another feature that I've been asking Dwarf to incorporate is the option not to store every single frame in fits, because even with 100 gigabytes, it goes through storage very, very fast. And they keep telling me just erase them when you're done. Hello, Jacob. Thanks, John. Have a good dinner. Jacob, we found a way to use Dwarf 3 to image through the clouds, and it's working so far. As you can tell from the SkyCam, it's totally cloudy, and Dwarf 3 has stacked 14 out of 15 frames so far. The trick was very simple. You install the new firmware, and it does it all for you. Actually, that's a very, very nice M67 cluster. These are almost round stars. Yes, we still have the ability to plan the night. Yep, schedule. Haven't tested it on the new app yet. Jacob, in a nutshell, the new app will, when you tell it to go to a target, it insists on recalibrating, and it does the full 360-degree turn in both directions to know where the stops are, and then starts calibrating by imaging the building. And then it takes its jolly time calibrating, and then it does a go-to to the target, and then it does a plate solving, and then it does initialization, and then it asks you to take darks, and then when it's done, it says, now it's time to, we need 3 minutes to apply the AI denoising image enhancing. Jacob, what is it that I can disable? The recalibration? I could not. What's talking about? Okay, here we go. Settings. My device. Nothing here. Connection settings. Nothing here. Location. Unknown. general, language, English, temperature, Fahrenheit, appearance, dark, support, nope, clear cache, about. There we go. Function tab. What is function tab? Okay, there is function. It has auto parameter, darks, equimode, atlas. Settings did not allow me to do anything useful. And under parameters for tele, if I take off the auto parameter, all right, let me stop it. I'm going to stop it here. Walk me through it, Jacob. Function, all the way up to settings. Under Astro mode, go to function tab all the way right. Okay, there is Astro. We are Astro mode. Function, settings. I don't have anything. Format, preview, telebinning, AI enhance, off. Can you humor me, Jacob, and check what app version you have? Or if not possible, don't worry, because this app and firmware update is 1 day old. So if I get rid of auto parameter, I can choose the filter. I can do my preset, I can do my shutter. And gain and count, and that's about it. I'm unable to find anything that lets me skip calibration at this point. Because if I go to Atlas, and we ask it to go to what's out there. Let me go back to M67. See, this is the problem. there is no option here to not calibrate. If I go to M67, again, it's not giving me an option to not auto. 312B28, standby. Settings. Mine is B331. I beat you by a version. Bill M42 has crossed the meridian. I cannot get it anymore. So we have a slightly different version. So if I go back to Astro, yeah, the settings do not give me anything. The Atlas, yeah, here I used to have the option of going with the M or A. Now it no longer allows me to pick between M and A. If I click on this, it says point the lenses to a cloudy sky with dense stars, ensuring there are no obstructions. And if it's okay, it calibrates. It's going to have fun calibrating now with these clouds. My neighbor's driveway light is on, and that's good. It sounds like the dwarf is crying because it's going frantically from side to side trying to find stars to calibrate on. Oh, good. After it failed, it's talking to me about manual. Told you it's trying to plate solve the building. Really? Okay. Now we have to find a repeatable way to get out of the auto calibration into manual so we can skip it. Hello, Quan Plus. There's the other issue. I have no idea what initializing is, does, or how to skip it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you just joined us, this is the Pompey Observatory, and we are doing some testing on the latest app and firmware of the Dwarf 3. It is a beautiful telescope that can image through the clouds. Adjust parameters and function first. Okay. Ooh, this is beautiful. Okay, we're in business. That was quick. We're back to where we were half an hour ago, imaging M67. Okay, what's the bright star just below M67? It's 60 Cancri. Yes, it is. Hello, Israel. The Big Dipper and Polaris are very obvious on the Skycam. This, the Big Dipper. And there is Polaris. Israel, not so much lots of steps, but the lack of ability to skip steps. The previous, this is not the latest app, by the way, this is a beta app that we are testing for Dwarf Lab. It has not been released to the public yet. I am part of their beta test team. Under normal circumstances, when you're imaging a target for about an hour or an hour and a half, those steps would not bother me. But I am preparing for a Messier marathon next month, and I'd like to automate the process of going from target to target, and I cannot afford the luxury of recalibration, reinitialization, and then AI enhancing for every target. Torture Team Beta. So Orion is visible on the Skycam, and it proves that Betelgeuse did not go or had not gone supernova as of 1325 AD. Hello, Palouse. Yes, I'm looking forward to rotating that Skycam. The good news is insurance said we are covered from the new waterfall that we have in our living room. We had ice buildup between the chimney and the roof, and it leaked into the house. In a rare moment that you will not hear from me too often, our town did something nice for us, and that is by allowing us to pay the taxes on either side of the new year, the property taxes, so we can double up in 1 year and skip the next year. And that has allowed itemizing in 1 year and taking the standard deduction in the next year, and so on and so forth. Hello, Louis. Long time no see. To those who just joined us, this is the Pompey Observatory. We are testing a new app that allows the Dwarf to image targets even when it's cloudy. So it is looking at M67 through the clouds. And it's doing a wonderful job. Well, look at the sky on the Skycam and look at the Dwarf. It has stacked 18 frames out of 18. I'm going to take a chance after M67 on Mercurian's chain. I'm going to drop down. It's not high enough yet. We did the Leo triplet yesterday, and then we hopped over onto 101 we were using Seestar. Dwarf 3 is much better suited for Mercurian's chain. Yes, clouds are not as good as they used to be. They're making them a lot more cheaply now. Jacob, I did not like Seestar's mosaic mode at all. Stellina remains head and shoulder above anybody else's mosaic mode. I don't know if you guys are keeping track of what High Point Scientific is doing, but I think tomorrow is the day where they'll be selling the large aperture telescopes from Meade. Jacob, by the way, I heard from Sue from Dwarf Lab this morning that they plan to have a booth at the Northeast Astronomy Forum. She asked me if I'm going to be there, and we look forward to seeing them there. I hope against hope that they have a new telescope to unveil. Maybe a Dwarf Lab 4 or a Dwarf 4. I tried Kai's mosaic once. Yes, I like it. Bill, I'm sure Jacob will let you borrow his Dwarf 3 until you get yours. The solar telescopes, the Meade and Orion and Coronado, they sold out in no time, literally a matter of minutes, including the multi-$1,000 scopes. Okay, this is a good time to move on to Mercurian's chain. This should be good enough, I think. Okay, how can we convince it to go to I tried calibrating and cancelling. It did not take me to the manual mode. Well, it succeeded in plate solving and calibrating. Now it's go to. Don't know, Jacob. That's part of the frustration. Let's see if I can get Sue's attention. They should be awake by now. Don't know what it is doing. Can I take advantage? Okay, there we go. It's trying to. Not good. I'm going to take advantage of the clear sky around Polaris and see if we can get M81 and 82. We should be operating in this open area. Bill, during calibration, it's taking 3 snapshots of the sky and plate solving so it knows what it's looking at. Unfortunately, it is insisting on going all the way the full 360 degrees to find out where the stops are, so it knows which way it is pointing, and then moves back to the first stop and starts taking frames until it has 3 clear pictures that it plate solves and knows which way it's pointing. It definitely got M81 and M82, and it is stacking them. In the past, it used to do the calibration only once at the beginning, and then from there on is able to go to any target, which was very attractive. Toast, it does not take darks during calibration. Seestar does. One of the beauties from the early days of Dwarf is the ability to calibrate on one part of the sky and then go chase targets on the other part of the sky where calibration would be difficult. Examples: the sun is just about to set and there is a comet near it. So I pointed the Dwarf to the darker part of the sky, as far from the sun as possible. It calibrated there, and then we went chasing the comet that was near the sun, and I was able to get it. No other telescope could have pulled that off. Have not tried the blind equi mode. But right now, if you look at the Skycam, you can see the Big Dipper very, very sharp, very clear. And that is good news. Bill, that is lake effect snow on the top left of the Skycam. Jacob, that is my experience also with the Dwarf and Seestar. I have many times pointed the Dwarf to a target that was below the horizon, especially Mercury, for the fun of it. And I was able to catch it. It tracked happily until it rose above the horizon, and there it was, smack in the middle. I wish you the best, Louis, with your D3, with your Dwarf 3. I've done things with my Dwarf that I was unable to do with any other telescope, such as taking pictures of the Milky Way, or imaging comets during daytime. How far north are you, Louis? That's right, you're in Alberta, Canada. Into NDF, you can get $10 off if you order it using my affiliate link. Good night, Louis. Thanks for joining us. Trying to decide on our next target. There is a whole mess of galaxies that would make for a nice Messier party. M98, 99, 100, 85, 84, 90, 89. They're all in the same vicinity. Jacob, SYR is Syracuse. Yeah, I'm gonna point us to Messier 95 and try to do that in wide angle just for N2NDF's benefit. Let's see if it's gonna do it. Okay, function wide. We're gonna go with the 15-second preset. Atlas. Actually, maybe we don't want to go to Atlas. Let's see if we can capture immediately. Okay, now we have a house here. Okay, never mind. except for the light pollution. Okay, our two attempts to do wide-angle imaging have not been successful. You may be right, Jacob. I've never taken darks with the wide angle, not since the latest update. So we're going to Messier 101, Pinwheel Galaxy. I have high hopes for Dwarf 3 doing a very good job with it. Jacob, that's one thing that Seestar did that Dwarf did not do, and that's put the dark filter internal. So they can take darks without having to close the telescope and cover it. Jacob trying to get the dark shark with the Dwarf 3. I assume you are using equatorial mode, because that is really worst case scenario where it is located near the North Pole, near Polaris. I did put Dwarf 3 on Dark Shark, I think it was 8 hours in one night, one session. It came out nice. Yeah. I did it right also. Took the darks, aligned it equatorially before they had the fancy equatorial alignment procedure. Put it on a sturdy tripod and let it run for 8 hours. Yeah, I went with Viz without Astro because it is a dark nebula. There is nothing coming out of it. Looks like the sky has cleared completely. So I'm going to do due diligence for the benefit of those who are watching. Hello, Sydney. Please note how the screen is dark on the right and bright in the middle. I'm going to take darks. I'm going to repeat 101 with darks and see if that is indeed the case. I'm going to stop. End current session. We're going to keep tracking and we're going to take darks. Taking darks requires opening the window and it's dark out, cold outside. Okay, click the shooting button to start. Here we go. Capture dark frame shutter should be at least 1 second or longer. Please adjust. What shutter? Yes, Bill, it comes with the neutral density filter. It is the same one used for sunspot imaging. Jacob, I would have thought that it would automatically do it because it asked for darks and I said let's do it, and for some reason it fell back to half a second. Okay, gonna exit. And we're gonna remember to remove the filter. So we are at 15-second shutter, 60 gain, and with a lot of luck it is still tracking M101. Yeah, I know that. It has deleted my darks in the past. It's not stacking. We're not stacking. I have removed the filter, it's in my hand. Okay. Thanks for the warning. Mine has not crashed at all this week. And I think I know why. Because I haven't used it at all this week. Okay, there is the proof. It was indeed a matter of darks. You were correct, Jacob. It was not a light issue. This is almost nice. Two hours since your last crash. Did they provide you with the special software to shoot flats? Okay. So you did it all manually. Good for you. So the plan for now is to let Dwarf do justice to Messier 101. We have taken the darks. Okay, what is that other galaxy that is under and to the right of M101? It says here it's NGC 5474. This calls for, it's a job for astrometry to do for us. Unfortunately, Dwarf does not do that automatically, so I have to screen capture and then send the file to nova.astrometry.net and have them figure out what you're looking at. Hello, Jeannie. No, John, I have not done Whirlpool yet. I'm trying to reproduce what we did yesterday with Seestar. Choose file, untitled. Open, upload. Jeannie, when you take pictures of the heavens and you submit them to astrometry.net, it'll do the plate solving and label it for you. Hello, Austin. We have success here. Alright, let me see if I can pull it up. This is what this is showing us. These are all the galaxies that are right around M101. So this is the one I was looking for. It's NGC 5474. Quite a few galaxies in that little area. Genie, the Seestar does that automatically when you click on mark. The white band on the sky camera on the top left is indeed lake effect snow. But we have a very nicely clear sky. And it appears that the Dwarf 3's battery is holding at 100% and it is charging. By this time yesterday, Dwarf 2 had all but drained. TCrB should be rising in about 20-25 minutes, and then we'll let it clear the trees and then we'll go visit with it. And then after that I'll go visit with my pillow. So we should be on for another hour at least. Station identification. This is the Pompey Observatory. And we're taking our revenge on the clouds now that we have firmware that will allow Dwarf to image through the clouds. Not sure, John. The D3 has stopped charging at hot temperatures. Have not seen it stop charging at cold temperatures yet, so don't know. The user manual that we are helping edit says clearly that it's not supposed to charge below, they say below 32 Fahrenheit, but we are well below that right now. Jeannie, I will email you the picture so you don't have to take screenshots. Yeah, right now the sensor is 16 degrees warmer than ambient. Jeannie, it should be in your inbox. I emailed you that picture that you wanted to take a screenshot of. Hi, Chuck. Chuck, do I understand you correctly that it is snowing in Tulsa, Oklahoma right now? Yeah, I see that. Wow. Okay. I ran my Oklahoma Marathon in Tulsa, Route 66. It was in November, and the temperature was single digit, and somebody had left the water sprinkler on, and there was water all over the road that had frozen solid ice. And runners were going down like flies. When I saw everybody in front of me crashing, I decided to hop onto the grass and run on the grass around the sprinkler. Thanks, Tariq. We're trying to cheat old age by keeping the body moving. All right, for those who are new and have not marveled with me on my sky camera, I just want to point to you the Pleiades up there. This is obviously the Big Dipper. There is Polaris. This is the lake effect snow. Down here is Orion on the right. And up here is the Pleiades. There is Cassiopeia. And this is my neighbor's driveway. Okay, back to the corner. Chuck, did you get the same acrylic dome that I am using? Agreed, Tariq, we would see a lot more than we are right now. Good night, Chuck. Stay safe. John, it is not an equatorial mode, no. Ladies and gentlemen, just a small public service announcement. Uh-oh. Chuck has written a nice book on retirement, the retirement GPS. I just posted a link to it. I got a copy and I really like it. So if you are contemplating retirement or enjoying it, it is a good read. John, the Dwarf 3 is sitting at the windowsill right now. While I have the ability to put it in equatorial mode, I dread the thought of it falling down 3 floors onto concrete. So I did not. John, I did an exercise a while back to determine the optimum location of targets in the heavens, whereby an Alt-Az mount will not show any significant field rotation, and M101 is ideally located right now. You have to be shooting somewhere between 30 and 60 degree altitude, and between 70 and 110 or thereabouts degrees azimuth to minimize the effects of field rotation. So this is what the Canadian wind is doing to us. This is lake effect snow coming down and then turning in. As you can see, Oswego is in the middle of the most intense snow right now. Luckily for us, this is Pompey. And this is very, very heavy snow. Ladies and gentlemen, TCrB is just rising now. We're going to give it a good half hour, 40 minutes to clear the trees, and then we'll go looking for it to see if it has gone the boing yet. Messier 101 is coming along nicely. We are at 128 frames stacked. So that's 32 minutes. And counting. If the angle of that snow plume were to change by a few degrees, we will be hammered. Yeah, M101 right now for me is 45 degrees and 35. 45 as 35 altitude. So it is sliding nicely without rotating much. I can do that, John. I can pull the Seestar. Although Dwarf has an 8 megapixel sensor and Seestar is only a 2 megapixel sensor, the field of view results in Seestars having more pixels per arc minute than Dwarf does. Plus Seestar has twice as much glass, and glass has its privilege. Bill, you missed seeing something interesting which I shall bring up momentarily. The snow that is pummeling Oswego right now. This is the lake effect snow, that plume and this one. And looking at Oswego, it is extremely intense blue and purple. We're right here, and we are seeing some of the snow on the Skycam. Oh, thanks, Bill. I wasn't paying attention. That is wonderful. Bill, it does. It has not stopped. The poor guys up there, they shut down everything. The university is online courses only, classes. Rice Creek, my observatory, is shut down, and they said they don't expect to be able to reach it or plow it for at least a couple of days after it stops snowing. Yeah, it can persist like this for several days. The folks in Parish, the snow is the height of the houses at this point. They just cannot get out of their homes because they cannot open the doors. The running total for Oswego, I am not sure. Let me see if they will tell us. I don't see any easy place. Okay, 78 inches of snow so far in the past 2 days. Warren, I believe that the Skycam does go outside the visual spectrum. It is an ASI 715. I don't know about the sensors in the Seestar and the Dwarf, if they go that far or not. Bill, from the video of the CRJ 900 that crashed the Delta flight in Toronto, it seems to have touched down properly on final approach. What would cause it to flip sideways and break the wing and flip upside down? Would the wind have been sideways strong enough to flip it over? I was surprised that as people were evacuating the plane, they were carrying their baggage with them, including some rollerboard suitcases or briefcases being taken out. Well, I'm glad that it wasn't much worse. Okay, TCrB is 3 degrees up. Yesterday Seestar would not get it until it was closer to, I think, about 12 degrees. The old Dwarf that did not try to calibrate and plate solve every go-to would have had no problem going there now and waiting for it. Okay, I don't know if the latest catalog on Dwarf will have IC4587 on it, or whether we're going to have to enter it manually. 15 hours, 59 minutes, 30 seconds. Right ascension, declination 25, 54, and 58. Alan, if you have any questions, please ask them. Everybody here will be very happy to make fun of you, to help you. Right now I plan to give M101 another 15 minutes, and then we will hop over to the Blaze Star. Oh, the Astro that allows you to choose among photo, video, astro, panoramic, or time-lapse. Yeah, it is disabled right now, but that's the one where you choose what mode you want to operate the Dwarf in. So there's photo, video, and then astro, and then panoramic, and I believe time-lapse, or whatever the last one is. The moon does not rise till after midnight, so we're going to leave it alone tonight, and I will try to catch it first thing in the morning. Orion is about to set. And Betelgeuse is still with us. Nice and bright. Good night, Jacob. Hello, my cool. Betelgeuse, I checked with people who were living in 1325, and they said it had not exploded then. So it's 700 light years away. If it does, or when it does explode, yeah, it will become a little puff of dust, and then it'll be a very nice nebula that we will be imaging right next to Orion and Running Man. Okay, I don't have neighbors with porches, so Warren, the light that you are seeing may well be either cloudish or snowband or something else. We did take darks earlier. But we have an awful lot of snow on the ground and don't know what might be reflecting off it. We're far from the Milky Way there, so it's not the Milky Way. Hello, Matthew. Matthew, Jacob and I have a big complaint to the Dwarf Lab folks. The latest iteration of the beta app no longer allows us to skip calibration before going to a target. We used to have the ability to choose manual or automatic. They took away that feature. So now every time I try to go to a target, it insists on calibration and then initialization, and I have no way to skipping calibration, which is very, very unfortunate. Jeannie, the only way to become believable is to sound authoritative, as if I know what I'm talking about. I had a colleague at Syracuse University who was doing his PhD at Princeton while Albert Einstein was teaching there. He was literally his next door neighbor, and he used to chat with him on the porch. That was a few years back. Yes. Matthew, the plans that I have for a Messier marathon on March 28th that will finish in the morning with sunrise with the sun missing a piece, it's becoming less and less likely that I will be using the Dwarf 3, because there is no way to cover 100 plus targets if you have to calibrate every single target and initialize every single target. Ain't happening. And the Dwarf Lab folks have still not responded to our request to reduce the minimum duration for the schedule from 10 minutes to 1 minute. I'd like to specify the target durations in single minutes, not 10-minute blocks. 6 targets per hour does not add up to 110 in one night. Yes, Sue messaged me earlier this morning to ask if I was online. Did not get her message until she was offline. Thank goodness I have one tablet that is still a very old app on it, and I still have my Dwarf 2, which has not been updated, and I can use that tablet with my Dwarf 2 to do useful stuff that I can no longer do with Dwarf 3. TCrB is at 6 degrees. I'm going to give it till it gets to 10 degrees, and then we'll go after it. I don't know, Bill, if they keep the prior versions of firmware in the device or whether they get wiped out. And I don't know at this point if they have a firmware version sitting in some unerasable part of the device that allows them to fall back on as needed. Matthew, I don't know if I told you my pre-production Dwarf 3 crashed very, very bad one day, to the point where when I turn it on, the light starts spinning and then stops halfway, and that's it. Drained the battery completely, recharged it, nothing would fix it. It was in one of those weeks when they had the entire week off and everything was shut down in China. And then when they came back on Monday, they logged into my Dwarf remotely and fixed it, flashed the firmware, and it was up and running in under 10 minutes. Yes, Warren, I will be saving the image. Actually, Dwarf will save it. Hi, Paulette. And Matthew, while I'm chewing your ear, there is one more thing that I asked them. I don't want to store every single individual frame. I'd like the option to not store them and not use up the 100 gigabytes in no time. And whenever I mention that to them, they say, oh, you can just go in and delete them. I want to be able not to store them if I don't want to post-process them. Good night, beer nuts. Paulette, I have used my Seestar at colder than 5 degrees with no problem. So at 300 frames stacked on 101, we're going to move off and go find the blaze star and see if it has gone nova yet. Yeah, storing the frames is no big deal. But taking away from us our ability to process manually and to skip calibration, that's the big one right now. Well, remember to turn on the dew heater if you're using it in cold temperature. Dean, yeah, I plan to do the Messier marathon, that's for sure. I have plenty of options, really. I can use the Seestar. I can use the Dwarf. I have two Dwarfs, Dwarf 2 and Dwarf 3. And I always have Stellina. So one possibility is to use two telescopes and just alternate targets. March 28th through from 28th in the evening till 29th in the morning. If the weather is not good, then I'll pick another date. You probably know that every solar eclipse is preceded by a lunar eclipse. So we have the total lunar eclipse on Pi Day. March 14, we have a total lunar eclipse. We plan to cover that from the evening of the 13th till the morning of the 14th. And then exactly 2 weeks after that is the solar eclipse. So I plan to start on March 28 in the evening right at sunset, and then go all the way to sunrise. If the weather doesn't permit, then the very first clear night after that will have to do. That is correct, Matthew. That is my plan. It'll be the new moon, which will result in a partial solar eclipse at sunrise. Matthew, as you probably know, I have been able to find comets at dusk and dawn with dwarf that no other telescope could find, because I would calibrate the scope by staring at the dark part of the sky and then send it looking at the bright part of the sky, and it will find the comet without any problem. Now I cannot do that anymore with the latest firmware, because it's going to insist on calibrating and plate solving. And the reason I mentioned that is the last galaxy in the Messier marathon is going to be at in daylight. And Dwarf is the only telescope that can find it if they let us use it the old-fashioned way. Bill, I'm hoping to use the Toyota Mobile Observatory for that, even though there is a certain probability that my wife will be getting a van for her business, a cargo van that she will let me borrow for my astronomical adventures. So we will be nicely set up with the food and coffee and everything else. All right, time to go find the Blaze Star. I'm afraid it may end up being a FOMO, a Ford cargo van. End current session. Stop. Bill, you were asking about this Astro. That's what it is. Allows you to choose between photo, video, burst mode, Astro, time-lapse, auto capture, and panoramic. Already. Atlas. Now we're going to see if it has IC4587. Does not have TCrB. Does not have IC4587, so it's going to have to be manual. $15. $59. $30. Next. 25, 54, 58. Somehow those numbers don't look right. Let me double check them. Okay, before we hit go to, let me double check the numbers. All right, 15, 59, 30, and 25, 54, 58, they are correct. Okay, let's go. This is the part, the annoying part. I don't want to calibrate again. I know where I am. We have calibrated. Warren, it does not allow typing in the right ascension and declination. It's annoying, it's unfortunate, but we can live with it. And this initializing takes up time that I cannot afford. You're welcome, Paulette. Have a good night. Thank you, Matthew. Okay, this is TCrB. By the way, Dwarf has been incredibly accurate when it comes to go-to with the coordinates specified. This is TCrB, and it appears that it has not gone nova yet. Yes, indeed, Matthew, that was the case with us earlier this evening. We were trying to shoot through clouds. I mean, here come the clouds again. And twice with the forced calibration, I tried calibrating onto the house and spent a good 3, 4, 5 minutes before it realized it, before it declared failure. When it declared failed calibration, it allowed me to go manual. So they have not deleted that capability. And I tried aborting, canceling calibration to force it to fail, so it let me go manual, but it would not. So if you're willing to wait 7, 8 minutes for it to fail, it'll let you do it manual at that point. Bill, we took a time-lapse an entire night of the sky cam, and it was interesting to see that the only star that did not move was Polaris, and everything else moved around it. I did not see any meteor, Bill, on the time-lapse. Don't know if it did or not. Yes, we can stack over several nights. Stellina now has that feature. It allows you to hit the same target repeatedly night after night. With the Seestar and Dwarf, you'd have to do it manually. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wish you all a good night, and we verified that Betelgeuse has not gone supernova yet. It's up here in the corner. We verified that TCrB has not gone nova. And it's almost tomorrow, so I'm going to bid you good night and go to bed.